What's going on, everybody? Josh Engleman for Awesemo.com, and I am back with my NBA DFS contenders on DraftKings for Wednesday, January 6th. Now, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all of our other content goes live. The biggie, follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman so you can get updates to my sim results as we get closer to lock. Finally, let me know in the comments section, who are your favorite plays on DraftKings for tonight's slate? We round out the bottom of my top 10 with Christian Wood, Rashawn Holmes, Kobe White, Nick Batum, and Zach LaVine. Who will be the top 5, the favorites for tonight's slate? It's time to find out. Alrighty, it didn't work out all that well in the past game, but I'm going right back to it. John Wall, 7,400 point guard eligibility, 36 fantasy point projection. You're looking for 48. I think he hits that and is in the optimal lineup about 13% of the time. It's a tough slate. 13% of the time in the optimal is really low. That's what happens when you're on an 11 gamer. You can see John Wall's at 13, LaVine at 13, Batum at 13, White at 13. There's a lot of overlap. One little change can take John Wall from 5th to 15th. So be aware of that. Don't just think, oh, 5th. The sim percentage is way more important than just the rank, because the relative change in some of these spots, it's very, very minimal. Just something to keep in mind. Anyway, back to Wall. 35 minutes, 24% usage, 8, 6, 4.5 as the base. Taken on Indiana, kind of a difficult matchup. Not necessarily from a defensive standpoint, although Miles Turner has looked really good this year. It's not important for right now. Slight pace-up matchup for Houston. Ultimately, I'm thinking that like 2 of the 3 of Harden, Wall, and Wood end up being guys you want to have your eye on in every given slate, just because there's not a lot of offense anywhere else on that team. So I think it's going to go through those guys. I don't think that it's going to be very easy if all 3 go crazy. So right now I am looking at Wood, obviously, and then I am looking at John Wall, who's at number 5. He's a 1.08 fantasy point per minute guy. I'm projecting him lower than that because of this Indiana matchup. That's a testament to how good I think this price is. That's probably the best way to say it. I think John Wall will ultimately be a more expensive player as we get further into the season. So right now I want to capitalize, grab that extra couple $100 in value. Spoiler alert, the number 1 contender from FanDuel is at number 4 here. We're hoping he plays. It's Paul George, 8,900 shooting guard eligibility. Why does he not have small forward eligibility too? So silly. Anyway, 49.5 point fantasy projection, 53 point goal. He hits the goal a lot, 36% of the time. 17% of the time he's in the optimal lineup. I'm giving him the full freight, 36 minutes. And I'm assuming Kawhi Leonard doesn't play today. It's the back end of a back-to-back. I'm just going to assume that Kawhi sits. In this assumption, Paul George takes a monstrous usage boost. I have him with 33% usage, 28, 7, and 5 baseline projection. He's just simply a different player if Kawhi's not on the floor. He's normally a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy. I'm bumping that up dramatically here. And it's not just the usage rate. They're taking on the Golden State Warriors. They're playing at the fastest pace in the league. I think the Clippers gain 8 possessions just from this matchup. It's a huge pace-up spot for the Clips, and that's why you see Nick Batum at 7. That's why you see Paul George at 4. You might see another Clipper as we work our way further up this list. I mean, this is multiple fantasy points that get added just from the pace of the game. I love it. Keep a close eye on it. He's got a bum wheel, but if Paul George is active and Kawhi Leonard is not, Paul George is essential for this slate. Like I said, there's going to be more Clippers. Number 3, Pat Beverley, 4K, point guard eligibility. Saw a minutes boost yesterday. Keep a close eye on that as well. I'm giving him 29 in this spot, 13% usage. That's not why you're getting him. He's going to do a little bit of everything. 9, 5, 3. You're hoping for a steal or 2. Here's the key piece. Projected for 23 fantasy points, goal of 36. He only hits that goal 3% of the time, but he's in the optimal 18% of the time. The salary is what is important here. He might not go for the monstrous number, but if he gets you to 32 or 33, you're still feeling pretty good, even if he doesn't hit that GPP goal, because spending 4K on Beverley unlocks the Paul Georges. It unlocks the John Walls. It unlocks the Zach LaVines of the world, the guys that are higher in salary. I love Beverley's ability to unlock other plays here. Again, massive pace-up spot. I assume they want him out on the floor more just because of Steph, so it seems like the minutes should be pretty secure. But because of those extra possessions, Pat Bev looks like an excellent value. Number 2, we're off to Cleveland. Andre Drummond, $8,600, center eligibility, 48-point projection with a goal of 52, which he hits a lot, 33% of the time. In fact, 19%. He's in the optimal lineup. I think that he plays about 32 minutes, 30% usage, 19.5 and 14.5 as a baseline projection. Taking on Orlando, feels like Vooch is a decent matchup. Not going to be enough for him on the blocks. So, I'm happy to get some Andre Drummond. Obviously, 8,600 is just not a problematic price tag for a guy that's a 1.4 fantasy point per minute guy and playing better. His usage is significantly higher than it normally is. So I think that he's more of a 1.5 guy. He's actually been the second best fantasy performer on a per minute basis of anybody that plays functional minutes. You get like random dudes in there playing 8 minutes. It's Giannis, and then it's Andre Drummond right now. So keep an eye on that. It's a slight pace up spot for the Cavs. They are walking wounded. Lots of dudes out right now. Drummond feels like a really safe bet, and that gets him to number 2. Now, before we touch on that number 1 contender, one last reminder, like button, subscribe to the channel, notification bell, and follow this guy at Josh Engleman on Twitter so you can get the sim updates. And the number 1 contender on this slate, it's right. Luke Kennard, shooting guard and small forward eligibility. So obviously he can fit in a lot of spots in your lineup. He's 4,100. I have him projected for 25.5 fantasy points, and he's looking for 36.5. He doesn't do that all that frequently, but he's in the optimal because he fits in everything you have. He's playing monster minutes. He played a ton yesterday with Paul George out. I expect the same sort of scenario if Paul George is in and Kawhi is out. If they're both out for some reason, still jam in Luke Kennard, but they're giving him the minutes. He's not like a great fantasy guy, 0.8 fantasy points per minute. I'm not even giving him that much of a bump in this spot. That's what I really want to point out. He gets the bump from being in the lineup significantly more than he normally is. 32 minutes at 4,100 is just crazy. He gets the pace up spot as well, but I'm still just projecting him as a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy. That's what's really crazy. I don't think he gains a lot of usage by moving into the starting lineup and playing with the rest of the starters. That's not really going to happen. He's a below average usage guy. This is simply a minutes play at a price tag and a pace that is unavoidable. I love getting to Kennard. I assume Kawhi is out and Paul George is in. If Paul George ends up out, even better. This is the spot because he fits in shooting guard, small forward, guard, forward, utility. You can put Luke Kennard in 5 different spots. Him being a Swiss Army knife and being able to be used in all of those different spots are what makes Luke Kennard an essential piece to your lineup building on DraftKings. Alrighty, folks, that will do it. Those are my NBA DFS contenders on DraftKings for Wednesday, January 6th. No late shows for me today. I'm on the NBA strategy show with the boss man, Alex Baker, at 10 a.m., so check out that show. And then keep your eyes peeled on Twitter. Good luck tonight. I'll be back again tomorrow morning with another edition of the Contenders.